Back here on the Mediterranean Sea in Tel Aviv, Israel, with my friend Chad Williams, former Navy SEAL. And so Chad, tell us a little bit, what did you do once you wanted to become a SEAL? What did you do in preparation? How did that all happen?
As soon as I left that school parking lot, I started preparing right away. So I went home and I started doing push-ups and sit-ups. I found a pull-up bar. I was really trying to just assess the situation. And I had to let my dad know some bad news and good news as I presented it to him. I let him know the bad news that I dropped out of school. And of course now he wants to know the good, and I'm ready for that, Dad. It's all right, I got a plan. I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL. And so he's kind of looking at me, seeing the track record of my life up until this point. I mean, I haven't really stuck with anything I started, like playing ball or skateboarding, and now I'm not even hanging in there at the local community college level, but I'm telling him that I'm gonna be a Navy SEAL. And so he's just trying to let me know, like, hey son, this isn't like anything you've ever done in the past. It's not like playing ball or skateboarding, these other things. Like, if you decide that you don't want to be in the military once you're in, you can't just get out. He says, once you're in the military, that's it. In fact, if you quit SEAL training, you'll be stuck in the military with a job probably chipping paint off some boat in Japan. And so...
And I used to hang out with some Navy guys, and I've been on the ships when they're doing it. That's some brutal work there, bro.
It is, and you know what? To me, that was a motivation. I will not be that man. And so I'm doing all the preparation I can, and days go by, and I remember he invites me into his room one day and says, okay, so you really want to do this, huh? You want to be a SEAL? I'm like, yeah, Dad, I want to be a SEAL. He goes, great. Well, I set up a workout for you with a Navy SEAL. Check out my computer screen. And I'll never forget looking over at the computer screen, and I see this little one-liner in an email, just says, can Chad come out and play tomorrow? And I'm laughing at that, thinking the same thing. Play? Like, Dad, he doesn't know any Navy SEALs. Who is this guy? Like, you met some guy off the internet that says he wants to play with me. Do you see what's going on here? You know, and now you're arranging this. And he goes, no, he's a SEAL. I'm like, all right, I'll go meet up with the guy. Well, as it turns out, there's more of a conversation he had with this Navy SEAL by the name of Scott Helvenston that I had no clue about at the time on the phone prior to that email. So on the phone, he had told Scott, like, hey, my son wants to be a SEAL, but here's the deal. He has no idea what he's getting involved in. And so I'm wondering if you could just do me a real big favor. Would you meet up with my son? And what I'm asking you to do, I need you to crush him. Just bury him, like beat this desire of becoming a SEAL out of him. And so he thought about it for a while and shot off his reply in that email, can Chad come out and play tomorrow? So I go to Oceanside, California, meet up with this SEAL, as far as I'm concerned, in a beach parking lot. And he spots me right away. You Chad? I'm like, yes, sir. All right, Bubba. I was Bubba now from that point forward. Get on over here. And he's got me dropped down doing push-ups and sit-ups, and he's got a pull-up bar. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing everything he wants me to do. But then he sends me off on a run. He says, go out into the wetlands, down that trail. I'll catch up with you. But I just got some gear I want to clean up. At 15 minutes into the run, I'll be there with you. So I'm running. 15 minutes into it, I'm looking back. I'm not seeing this guy. I keep running, and I'm looking back, not seeing him. And I start getting this idea in my head. Like, hey, maybe I'm too fast for this Navy SEAL. He can't catch up on this run. And I'm celebrating now in my head, thinking about all the names of my buddies I'm gonna be bragging to about this. And then I look over my shoulder again, and it's like a scene out of Terminator 2. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, that scene where the bad guy, the T-1000 could like morph into knife hands and chase down a moving vehicle. I'm looking back, and that Navy SEAL is like a T-1000 coming down this trail for me.
Wow.
There's nothing I could do to keep that distance. I'm running as fast as I can, and he catches up to where I am, and I never saw what was coming next as he gets just ahead of me, turns on a dime, plants down, and I'm greeted by his fist just impaling my stomach as I am going for a ride, getting clotheslined back on the ground, poop of dirt up all around me. And you got to put yourself in my shoes for a moment here. Remember, at the time, the only intel I have is this: some guy my dad met off the internet, now he's got me on the ground in the wetlands. I'm thinking, like, child predator, like this is happening right now. He's jumping on top of me now and just ragdolling me. I remember that sound of the threads of my shirt. They're ripping and spit flying out as he's screaming in my face, just going ballistic. And I feel it like hitting me in the cheek, the forehead. But then I hear these words come out. He says, you want to be a Navy SEAL, you better stay 3 paces behind me. And there was something about that moment right there that I think that is one of the most important moments. One of them, it's a highlight moment in my life where I realized if I quit right now, I'll forever be a quitter. Like, this is the moment right here, whether I like it or not, I'm being called upon. The way I respond here is going to determine the trajectory of the rest of my life. And so I just reaffirmed that initial attitude that started in a school parking lot. I said it in my head, die before you quit. Like, I'd rather die than be known as a quitter for the rest of my life. And so he says it one more time, 3 paces, turns, he takes off, he shows no mercy, he's taking off on me, and I'm going after him. And this went on and on and on for a handful of miles down this trail. And all I could really say is, looking back in hindsight, after having gone through SEAL training, which we just talked about, I'll say that that was by far the most difficult singular workout, I should call it a beatdown session, this encounter with this Navy SEAL, Scott Helvenston. But I hung in there. And so we finally get to a point where he circles up, he's kind of looking at me. I thought he wanted to fight me. He had that look in his eyes, so I'm trying not to look at him. I don't want to set him off. I'm kind of just thinking, use your peripherals, man. Don't look this guy in the eyes. Don't make him angry. And he asked me a question. He just says, hey, if we would have gone another mile or 2, would you have stayed with me? And I just told him, I said, Scott, I'll die before I quit. Well, that put a big smile on his face. And he's like, great. You want to meet up again for another workout tomorrow? And so it was from that point forward, I began to meet up with this Navy SEAL, Scott Helvenston.
Wow.
And eventually I moved on from just being Bubba to I became Junior. He really took me under his wing. And I idolize this guy. He's an extraordinary Navy SEAL. He's a world champion pentathlete, the fastest Navy SEAL in the SEAL training obstacle course. He is the youngest man to ever make it through SEAL training, and the only man to beat the Beast on a TV program called Man vs. Beast, where he raced a chimpanzee through an obstacle course and pulled ahead of the monkey on the monkey bars, okay? You can't make this stuff up. And so you can imagine what it's like to get trained by him, but eventually that time would come to a close because I signed up, I got a date, it's set. Scott took an opportunity, as he put it, to go overseas again. And the phone conversation before he left, he says, all right, Junior, I'm about to go do this thing. He's referring to going to Iraq. And he says, I just want you to know something, though, that I've never told anybody I've ever trained before. He says, I know you're going to make it through SEAL training. And to hear those words from my mentor, and that meant the world to me. And so we say our goodbyes. He's only going to be gone a couple months. I'm going to do Navy boot camp a couple months. And so by the time I start SEAL training, he's going to be back. And so we're off the phone. Handful of days later, I'm getting ready to go. I turn on television, and on the TV, I see Scott. And it starts off with a picture of him smiling. And then I see in the lower third of the screen his birth date, followed by a dash, and it says March 31st, 2004. And what followed after that was, you know, some pretty graphic stuff. He was in a vehicle that was ambushed in Fallujah, Iraq. And he, along with some 3 other Americans, were videotaped as their lifeless bodies were ripped out of the vehicle and dragged through these streets and hung upside down from the Euphrates River Bridge. I think a lot of the viewers might remember this. He was one of the contractors with Blackwater at that time. And so they had set their bodies on fire, and they began to chant in Arabic over and over into a camera, Fallujah's the graveyard of Americans, Fallujah's the graveyard of Americans. And I think, pretty needless to say, you know, that's one of those moments in life where I'll never have the words to describe just what all the surrounding events were like. It's one of those things that radically changes you as a human being, you know, big time. But there also is a takeaway there. Part of our SEAL creed, it starts off, it says, forged by adversity. And I think one of the lessons here is adversity is something that we all have to face in life, and we never get to custom pick it. In fact, you a lot of times have no control over the fact that you will face adversity. But if you think about it, you still do have control over something. You choose the way you respond. That adversity will either be what we can call a wing or a weight. Will you allow it to be a weight that sinks you, leaves you knocked down, never to get back up again? Or do you find a wing in there somehow, which is just a way to rise to the occasion, to get to your feet? Will you be forged by that adversity, or will you fail because of it? And so, reflecting back on that last conversation I had with Scott, because that was the last conversation I had with him, I remembered when he told me, Junior, I know you're gonna make it through SEAL training. And so that became the wing right there. I became determined that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it for so much more now. I want to do this in honor and memory of my mentor. And so I had his name written on the inside of my hat as a constant reminder and motivation to make it through training. I glanced up at it. Every time things got tough, he got me to really dig deep. And that was one of the tools, I think, that helped me to get through training.
Awesome. Well, man, I want to hear about some of the stories of what it was like to be a SEAL, actual combat stuff and things that you did. Man, I love the stuff that you're talking about. So I like your t-shirt too. Only easy day was yesterday.
Yeah, it's a SEAL motto right there. That's kind of the Christian life too, you know, living worthy of the cross, taking up your cross daily.
What's it say on the back of your shirt?
It says, greater love has no one than this, one that lays down his life for his friends. And so those are some familiar words right there. So the bone frog is something we wear to honor and remember SEALs that have shed their blood for our earthly freedoms, and the words on the back of the shirt, it honors them certainly, and it was Jesus who said those words, and he shed his blood not for our earthly freedoms but for our eternal freedom. So some double significance there for sure.
So if some of us, our viewers, if they want to get a shirt like that, maybe they won't fill it out as nicely as you do, but how can they get it?
They can get it at sealofchrist.com.
Okay,
Yeah,
hey, thanks, man.
That'd be great.